Hey, Julia Barzyk here from Wise Investigator. Today I want to share with you some answers to questions that we've been getting recently about what it's like to work with Wise Investigator, specifically as related to our Early Career Funding Accelerator program. I'm not going to cover everything that's covered in this program, everything that we do with our clients, everything that we work through with them, because I can tell you about that on a call. I can provide you information on email after that and answer your questions about exactly what you're getting when you work with us. But what I wanted to do today is take the time to answer some questions that we get specifically around what makes our business and our model, our program, different than other kinds of support that you may have available to you. So I have 6 points here. Frankly, there's a lot more than 6 points I could get into, and I feel very passionately about all of these. So I have a list here to try to keep myself on track, because I could talk about any one of these points ad nauseum. Okay. So the number one thing that makes us different is that we are focused specifically, and as far as our Early Career Funding Accelerator program goes, exclusively on early career faculty and helping them or you reach your first major funding milestone. This is not because we're only experienced in these quote unquote smaller awards. And by smaller awards, I mean grants that are in the 300 to 500K range. Our clients win more than that even. But these are considered small awards by your institution standards, especially if you're somewhere that is regularly winning things like center grants and millions of dollars or even tens of millions of dollars, right? Then the 300K award is a quote unquote small award. Now, we know that these awards are not small for you and your career. These make or break your career at this stage. These are the kinds of things that mean you get tenure or you don't get tenure. So our team is exclusively focused on helping you win these types of awards. It is not because we don't have expertise with the big awards. We do. We have expertise writing topics and managing from inside funding organizations, multi-million-dollar investments. We have expertise helping PIs at the universities to win those types of awards. And we have expertise with things like STTR, SBIR, including some of us extensive expertise on these. So it is not that we don't know about this bigger world. It's that we have made a very intentional choice to focus in on where there is a really important need. And the fact that we know the wider world, we know these more applied opportunities, the business stuff, we know the big awards. When you're working with us, we are going to be preparing you to have success with those other types of funding opportunities in the years ahead. But we don't need to get ahead of ourselves and worry about that stuff now when you still haven't won your first major federal award for 300K or whatever it may be. So that is why we are different, is because we are focused on what okay, speak frankly, other businesses could see as not as profitable of an opportunity to provide a service to help somebody win a relatively small amount of money, when they or we or I could make a lot more money by consulting on things like center proposals. So I understand why the universities do need to invest in the support to win those really big awards, because they're very high stake and you need consultants, project managers to help that process along, and you need to put your in-house staff on those assignments because they're very important. But from my perspective and all of my team and your perspective, I know as well, your career is very important to you, okay? It's also important to your institution, to your family, to your students. It's important to me, but it is very important to you. So even if it is, again, a small award, it is very important that you have good support and you learn how to have success with something like this. So that also goes into secondary point here, which is that the folks at your institution, while they may be, and they most likely are, because I know many of them, very capable, very qualified, and would be able to help you with some of the things that we support you in, they just don't have the bandwidth. They may be able to meet you on Zoom or in the office for an hour and give you some really good guidance in that time, but they are not going to be able to follow you over the course of 10 or 20 weeks to support you through the whole process because they just don't have the bandwidth to do that. They may be serving hundreds of faculty members, right? So they're not going to have the time to put in with you that we can. Now, number two, a very important point about why we are different. We will help you with your proposal draft, yes, but we help with the strategy leading up to that. So, a service provider might be able to come in once you've already drafted a proposal and you say, hey, I'm going to apply for this. Here's the deadline. Here's what I've come up with. They could get an expert to give you comments on that. And that might take something like 2 weeks for you to get that back, which that's another issue there, right? Because do you really have your drafts ready 4 to 6 weeks before the deadline? No, I know you don't. Few of you may, but 95% of you do not, and that's okay. We understand that, right? We're working in the real world here. So we could work with you on shorter notice as well. But you may be able to get comments from somebody on a draft that you've produced, and those comments are probably very reasonable. They're probably right. They're probably correct in saying this area is not well developed, this area is confusing, here's some ideas of how you could reframe this. That's very helpful. But if you shouldn't have even spent your time writing that proposal anyway, then what is all of that worth? So we are going to work with you from the beginning of the process, including trying to reach the funders, getting feedback on your ideas, trying to determine, is this a good opportunity to pursue or not? And if it's not, we stop, we reassess, and figure out another plan rather than have you writing proposals that you shouldn't be writing in the first place. Because if you don't have any chance of winning that award, then no matter how great the comments are that you get from an expert, it doesn't matter. It's just a waste of everybody's time, and it's a waste of resources. So the next topic that I want to talk about here, number 3, is that we are providing support to you on your schedule and your timeline, because you're not going to be working with a cohort that's going to meet Thursday afternoons at 3 p.m. Well, what if that time doesn't work for you? Or what if it works for you some weeks and not other weeks? Then you're going to get behind. Now, having the support of a cohort is valuable, but it's not required. And you probably have other type of cohort programs that you may be able to go through, like the faculty success program is one. It's not related to funding, but some of you may be familiar with that. So I'm not saying that there's not any value in having a cohort, but you don't need it. You don't need it to have the success that our clients are having. And you can also possibly get that kind of peer support elsewhere. And just like there could be some benefits of having a cohort model, there's also a lot of downsides potentially to a cohort model. And that is, one, not being able to share maybe as openly about some of the struggles you're facing, especially if the people in your cohort are from your same institution. You may not want to share that. Share all the things that you can share with us. Further, it's also likely that some of the material that's going to be covered is not relevant to you. So that means you're going to be sitting through some material that you already know, or it's not relevant to what you need to do. If you never do anything related to IRB, then do you really need to sit through a module or even part of a session on something like that when it's never going to be relevant to you and your work? So these are some downsides of the cohort model that you don't need to worry about with us. If you are going out of the country, if you're at a conference, you can just say, hey, I can't meet this week, and we're going to accommodate that. So you're going to get all of the value that you should get, and you're not going to miss anything, and you're not going to start feeling behind. We make a very intentional effort with all of our clients to strike a balance between accommodating your schedule and pushing you a bit for accountability. So if you kind of try to disappear, we're going to come track you down and say, let's get you back on the calendar. So we will hold you to be accountable to get the work done, but we're also going to accommodate your schedule because we have to, right? You have too much going on. It's not going to work if we don't accommodate you. Now, related to this is my point number 4. And this is that we really need to start thinking, in my opinion, about traditional models of training. And this is something I could go on about for a long time, so I won't. But we all know that attendance, first of all, registration is down at trainings for getting funding, webinars, things like that. And then there's lower registration. These are things that's put on by your institution largely. Then beyond that, the turnout will be lower than it has been in years past. And I have my own theories for why this is the case. And frankly, I think it comes down to the fact that you all have gotten even busier and even more overcommitted over the last 5 years than faculty were before. So you're just, this time that, to have an hour to just sit there and eat your lunch and watch a webinar, it just doesn't exist anymore. You might have something on a webinar, but you're going to have other work that you're doing at that same time. We know that. So the time, and maybe now you're realizing that, so you don't even sign up, you don't even go, right? In years past, you might have said, oh, I'll just turn on the webinar, I'll listen to that while I do something else, or I have this intention to watch this webinar. Now you're not fooling yourself anymore. You're like, I don't have time, I don't have the bandwidth, I'm not even going to pay attention to this. And I don't blame you, because you'd have to question how much value are you getting out of those webinars. And you may get some value. I think you get some value, right? They're not worthless, but I don't think they're getting you everything that you need, because at the end, you're still on your own. They'll send you the slides or something like that, but you still have to pick up all of the pieces and do the implementation. And so, in my opinion, training for faculty, and I believe other professionals, even some kinds of services and trainings that I've had myself as I've learned about running a business, are much more effective when they are targeted towards the individual, like one-on-one type of implementation training, because we can all go and get the information. And you hear me say things like, you need to email more, do more contacting, reach out to the program officer, so you know that that's what I want you to do, right? But you actually have to go ahead and do it. And some of you may be doing that, and others of you may not be, for a variety of reasons. But if you sign up to work with us, then we are going to hold your hand and you will do it, right? We will make sure that the outreach volume goes up. So that's the difference, right? I can tell you what's in the program, what we do with you, and you still are not going to be able to go and do all of that yourself as easily as you would when it's in a structured program and you have an expert holding your hand and walking you through all of that. It also takes off the mental load so that okay, I have to do my assignment and I have to have my meeting with my coach, and that's what I'm going to be doing Tuesday afternoon. And you're making progress, instead of sitting there at your desk by yourself wondering, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? We're telling you what to do. It's like having a meal plan, right? That's what you're going to be eating on Tuesday night. You don't have to sit there in the grocery store, with your cart in aisle 3, frozen, thinking, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be buying, right? I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. You can think of us like a personal shopper. We're going to go with you to the grocery store and say, these are the things that you need. And that makes it easier, not because you're not capable of thinking of these things, but because you're overloaded and it's hard to keep everything in the front of your mind and process everything that's related to your priorities and what you should be doing. Let us help you. Okay. So I touched on this a little bit before. We're getting through the list here. Number 5, we are outside of your institution. So you can speak with us about any kind of concerns, any kind of, career aspirations. If you have, maybe you're even thinking about moving to another institution. Well, that's not going to be something that you're going to be able to discuss with people in your department. So we are outside of the federal government, which means that we can speak very frankly about how the processes work. We're not representing the government like we used to, many of us, when we were in our former jobs. We're also not at your institution. Now, we want you to get support from people in your institution. So that's why we even have a unit on making the most of resources at your institution, because it's not that you don't want to talk to people there. You need to be talking with any assigned mentors that you have in your department or elsewhere, your department chair. It's very important that you're in good communication with them. So we are in no way saying that we're a substitute for the people at your institution, but we are advisors who exist outside of that world. And that is very, very valuable in terms of what you can share with us, the guidance we can provide, and your psychological safety of saying, we are here for you. When you win the money, it does go to your institution. So we are supporting your institution, but it's through you. You are our priority when you're working with us, period. That's it. Okay, so number 6 is that we are a very small investment with a expected very high payoff in terms of the dollar amount that's been invested in you, that you have invested in your career up until this point. And our return on that is really outsized of any other kind of financial return that you could get on really any other kind of investment. I'm not an investment expert, like in terms of the stock market or real estate or things like that, but you can just do the math and realize that the return is really orders of magnitude better than any kind of investment opportunity that people make in the outside world. So let's think about this a little bit in terms of the dollars. Is I understand that when a department hires you, they are making an investment of about $1 million. And that is for everything associated from the search and recruiting you to paying your salary, giving you startup funds, all the overhead that goes with that. So this is $1 million investment that they have made in you. Now that does not include the investment that you've made in yourself, right? To get your own education and everything that's associated with that. So it's on the order of thousands of dollars, and our pricing is always on our website. That's not something that I keep secret, and you can see what it is at any point in time there. It is such a small amount of money relative to the return that you can expect to get, which will be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you want to hear details about the results that our clients are getting and some numbers on that, I can tell you about that. We have excellent results. We have excellent return there. So this is something that it should really be a no-brainer, again, because of all the investment that you've made in your career, all the investment your institution has made in you, that for really what to the institution is a very small amount of money. And I know people will say, oh, the budgets are tight now, but there is money for this. This is a dollar amount that is low enough that there are people who can sign off on an expense like that very easily. And that's not to say that you don't have challenges. I know many of you are running out of startup funds, or some of you, if you're at a teaching focused school, did not get a lot of startup funds. It would not be able to cover something like working with us. So I don't want to say that's not an issue for anybody out there, but it's really not an issue for your institution more broadly. You just need to be talking to somebody at a higher level where they absolutely do have money for something like this, especially when it's related to a direct monetary payoff, right? This isn't about something that's going to give you a better work-life balance and is going to then help you bring in more money over the course of your career. I am all in favor of supporting your mental health, supporting a work-life balance. And I do believe that if you can establish those practices, that you will bring in more money over the course of your career. So that's not a bad approach. The point is that ours is extremely targeted. We are not saying that you're going to have more money and be a better professor in 5 or 10 years from now. We're saying in 18 months, you should have won hundreds of thousands of dollars. Our program is focused on helping you win that money. So I hope this answers some questions that you all might have. I'm happy to speak with any of you about the details of what we actually do with faculty. If you would like to know more, find me on LinkedIn or send me an email at Julia, Julia, at wiseinvestigator, one word, .com, and we will set up a time to talk.